My dad was an exceptional individual. He was a great boss. He was a wonderful person to work with and work for. He was a great father, and very honestly, he was my best friend.
Bob was a man of integrity. Bob was a guy that if you shook hands with Bob and made an agreement, that was it. It was done. Bob was a guy who had a lot of fun, who loved to laugh. I think Bob enjoyed hunting and fishing and just absolutely loved people. He was a people person like no other.
He knew everybody. Everybody knew who he was. He's just a friendly, well-liked individual and had a very positive reputation.
He sold himself. When he went out on a sales call, by the time he left the house, the people might not be real sure exactly what it was that they were going to buy, you know, down to the nuts and bolts, but they knew they wanted to buy it from Bob.
Most of the heating companies, if you talk to the owners and say, well, what kind of company is Bell Brothers? And he said, Bob Bell's the best.
My dad and my uncle worked for a home improvement company in Des Moines. And in 1955, they decided to start their own business. And so two of the installation people and one of the service guys and my dad and my uncle went and rented a little place on College in Des Moines and started their business. It grew quite fast. In 1965, we bought a building that was an old coal company here in Des Moines and put an addition on the back of it and moved in 1965 and have been here ever since.
Carrier was a brand that Bob felt like aligning himself with. It was a flagship national brand, something Bob wanted his business to become. He wanted to become the premier contractor in the Des Moines market and felt the need to align himself with a premier brand in order to do that.
Carrier treated him right to begin with, and he just formed a relationship with them, and he liked the quality that Carrier had, he liked the brand recognition that Carrier brought to the table, and he's just the type of person that he's very loyal. Once he forms a bond and works with somebody, if they treat him right, he reciprocates. And Carrier did a good job for him, and, you know, in the very beginning, and because of that, he always stuck with Carrier.
Bob had the philosophy that he was never going to be the cheapest. He'd go out and be a first-class salesman and treat people first class, and he'd tell them right up front, now I will not be the cheapest, but I'll be the best.
Bob did not want to lose. Bob was very, very competitive.
I kind of dreaded going on a sales call where I knew Bell Brothers or Bob was a competitor, or I knew he was going to be tough and he would sell a job, maybe not for the least amount of money, but he had a unique knack for selling his product and getting the order.
Bob is very well respected by his competitors and by his employees as well. Quite a few of Bob's former employees went into business for themselves. Bob was always very supportive of those people, even though they were becoming competitors of him, and actually mentored a lot of those customers. And several of those customers are actually large Carrier dealers for us today.
He always wanted to make sure that people had the opportunity to advance. And when you had a good employee that decided they wanted to go out on their own, he would be the first one to wish them luck and help them if he possibly could. He never held them against anything against them that they wanted to be in business for himself, because that's what he had always wanted.
He wasn't just your boss. He was your father, your grandfather, your friend. I mean, he was that one person that if you needed to go to him for anything, you could walk right into his office and sit down, and he'll sit there and he'll listen, and he'll do whatever it takes, you know, to make things better for you or to give you what you need.
1993, when Des Moines was hit by a terrible flood. We were on the national news, and the levee broke that protects a lot of this lower area where we are from the river. Wendell Fouch is a Carrier dealer that was located just down the street from us. We had water up to our door and in our front yard, and Wendell had water up to his ceiling. And my dad was one of the first people to say, you know, what can we do to help you?
So Bob says, come over and use our sheet metal shop and we'll put some equipment in here for you if we need to.
And the Bell family loaned them a building that they had so that they could stay operational during the flood and save their business. Not very many competitors would do anything like that.
Actually, I almost get emotional when I think of it because I appreciate it so much what he did, and it's really hard it was hard at that point in time to believe that someone would come around and help you to that degree.
We all sort of braced for it. He'd been sick for a while. We knew it was going to happen. But when it actually happened, it was so much harder than I had expected it to be.
There's not a day that goes by here that somebody around our office probably doesn't mention Bob or a memory of Bob.
I learned from Bob to operate with integrity. And as the owner of this business today, and hopefully be able to pass it on to the next generation in my family, we're going to strive to keep those same core values that Bob had. Honesty, respect, fairness, giving people value, and having some fun along the way.
This is his legacy. I mean, the people who have been here for over 20 years, the company that Bell Brothers has become today, everybody who is here, who works here, knows it's because of Bob.